Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And a very warm welcome to tonight's live show where the world is your oyster. What do you want to talk about tonight? What are the burning issues in entertainment and DC live action that you want to talk about? I'm here to answer your questions, to respond to your comments. Let's get going. Smash the like button if you love me. Please subscribe if you're new. And let's get this show on the road. I hope you had a lovely Monday. Maybe you're in a part of the world where your Monday is just starting. And my thoughts are with Turkey right now that had an earthquake. In fact, we felt a shudder here in Cyprus from that earthquake as well. Ronnie Dodge, for Superman Legacy, I would bring in Lex. Now, I think Lex will be involved, Ronnie, but I don't think they're going to have him as the main villain. Lex, the best times in any Superman, in comics, I think in films or even in animation, when Lex is there and he's part of the story and he's maybe pulling the strings and he's interacting with Superman, I think it really works. But I don't think Lex Luthor being just the main focal point as a villain is going to work, and I don't think that's what James is going to do. Ronnie Dodge or maybe Lobo or Brainiac. Again, I think Lobo will be there. I don't think Lobo is villainy villain. He is kind of villainous, but he's also not. So I think he'll be there. Brainiac would be a great choice. James Gunn teasing another Superman comic, then said no plans on adapting. I think he's just out to wind up some of the Snyder fans who hate him. But that's very exciting that he's posting. But yeah, I mean, Lobo, I think, will be involved. I think they've made it abundantly obvious that Lobo will be involved in the DCU. And also, I think that the new DCEU I believe this is actually a full reboot. Now, you're going to say how? Because we've heard that Sean Gunn is going to be in one of James Gunn's series as well, as the character we saw in the Suicide Squad, whose name escapes me. Scott Edwards, what's up? Hello, Scott. How are you doing? Get in the chat. Give me your questions. Let's have a conversation. Smash the like button if you love me. Ronnie Dodge, Weasel. Yeah, Weasel's going to be in the Commando thing. I forgot the full title. The Commando, I think, is an animated series, is it? And then it's going to go live action, I think. So Weasel is back. So obviously some haters are going to be angry about that because James Brother is one of the first person to be announced in the new DCU. Scott Edwards, Metallo should be the villain. Metallo would be great because he's a domestic villain. And I think we've had recently in Superman, we've had these intergalactic threats like Zod in Man of Steel and Doomsday in BVS. Scott Edwards or Brainiac. Brainiac would be cool. He was going to be in the Superman Returns sequel, and that was going to be very awesome. I think it's about time they introduced Brainiac. So, going to be interesting how James Gunn's going. He certainly hasn't teased Brainiac. He hasn't teased Metallo either. I mean, Metallo is my number one, but also you could what he may do here is introduce the Elite and Manchester Black. That's something I wrote about in my idea for a Superman movie. Ronnie Dodge, I think it could work that certain actors can come back to them roles, but they're different from post-Flash. I think you may have a point there, Ronnie. I think that they're going to phase out the original DCEU cast. Basically, they're going to take their time, but I think this is more of a full reboot. Yeah, he's going to use his Suicide Squad characters. Maybe he'll use some previous actors in their roles. I don't know, but I think this is going to be a huge reboot. And I think that's the best way going forward. Scott Edwards, so will the heroes in JL be already established in DCU? Well, we don't know much about if there's an existing Justice League, but what James has said, that this is a new universe with pre-existing heroes in it, which I think is good. It's a breathing universe. It's not a build-up universe. It's not like the Snyderverse where they were slowly building up the Justice League and these heroes. And in Man of Steel, Superman was supposed to be the first superhero Although that doesn't work because Batman was there before him. But that's what they said during Man of Steel. So this is a fully fleshed out universe. Scott Edwards, how will the Flash movie end? The Flash movie will end setting up James Gunn's and Peter Safran's new DC universe. When we finish that film, we will be in that new timeline, in that new universe. So originally, we were going to be in Walter Hamada's new timeline. Now we're going to be in the brand new DC universe timeline by the end of that movie. And that's how the film will finish, I'm assuming. Ronnie Dodge, James said in Superman Legacy that Clark is already at the planet and heroes already exist in that universe. So maybe we get Easter eggs in that movie, knowing James. What that film's going to have to do, and I think what James will do, Ronnie, is in fact basically world build that universe, as well as doing a film about Superman, showing us the world, the new DC universe. I do feel that Batman may appear in that movie as well, but I think they're going to show us what this new DC universe is, because basically it's not just a Superman movie, it's a launch pad for the new DCU. So there'll definitely be Easter eggs, but I think there'll be more than that. Scott Edwards, so this is still as Flashpoint reboot. Yes, the Flash movie is rebooting the DCEU. We're going to be in a brand new universe at the end of that movie. That's the whole point of that movie. Now, originally, they were setting up as Keaton as the new Batman. They were setting up Sasha Calle as Supergirl, but that's not going to be happening now. Ronnie Dodge, maybe Bruce shows up in a post-credit scene. Maybe, yeah, that'd be good. Yusuf Al-Jazan, the Authority is coming as well. I think the Authority should give us a clue about what James Gunn's actually planning, because the Authority is a very interesting idea. A bunch of humans that are protecting Earth in a very authoritative way. But how is that going to work? And is that set in the past, or is it kind of in the modern day contemporary world? Yusuf Al-Jazan should be the the Authority. Well, the Authority you may have actually got yourself there, Yusuf. Maybe the Authority are the villains and kind of are a little bit like the Elite. So maybe that's what he's going to use. That's interesting theory. Ronnie Dodge, the comic that the Waller series is based off, Batman is in that comic. Interesting. So that would be interesting, wouldn't it? That is interesting, Ronnie. Yusuf Al-Jazan, the Authority should be the villains. I think you've actually struck gold there. I think that could be the case. Scott Edwards, they need to clarify if Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is pre or post Flashpoint. Well, that's going to be an interesting thing. Again, Scott, you make a very, very good point. Is it going to be set after the Flash movie, or is it prior to the Flash movie? I'm starting to suspect that Blue Beetle and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom could be set prior to Flashpoint. That's an interesting point. Ronnie Dodge, Batman helps Waller get the Suicide Squad back together in that comic. Wow. So that could be a bigger story and a bigger show than we had imagined if they're really copying and pasting that comic. Interesting, Ronnie. Thank you for that. So it's certainly an interesting situation. But who will they get back from the Suicide Squad? Who will be available to be on that show? Scott Edwards, is Arrowverse going to be in the Flash movie? I think the only chance is that Grant Gustin has some kind of very, very small cameo. I think all the cameos you see are going to be via when Barry goes through the Speed Force. I think the other, obviously, you're going to get more of a cameo, more than a cameo from Michael Keaton's Batman, Michael Shannon's Zod, Fiora. They play a big role within the Flashpoint universe. But most of the cameos will come via the Speed Force very, very quickly. So it'll be Linda Carter's Wonder Woman, Christopher Reeve's Superman, very, very quick cameos within the Speed Force, which I think I've seen a clip of before. Ronnie Dodge, what about Jensen Ackles as Bruce Wayne? I I think, considering the kind of age that James is hinting about and saying he's only a couple of years older than Superman, I think Jensen is probably by now a bit too old to play Batman. I think he would be a great Bruce Wayne and Batman, but I don't see it myself. But who knows? Scott Edwards, is Zod a major villain in the movie? He's a major villain in the Flashpoint universe. So what we do in the Flashpoint universe is kind of set at a time in an alternative version to Man of Steel. But instead of Superman fighting Zod and Faora, it's actually Supergirl. And Michael Keaton gets involved in that fight as well. I think the movie, I mean, it's interesting. And when you talk about a main villain, it's a kind of a subject that's kind of difficult to describe. Ronnie Dodge, Scott, I think Zod is not the main villain. I feel that will be Black Flash. I think Black Flash will be kind of more of a villain than Zod, but Zod will play a part in that. I do know what Zod does in that kind of situation. It's a very violent altercation between Supergirl and Michael Keaton's Batman, and they don't end up, at the good end of that battle either. So yeah, I don't think the film really has a main villain, but obviously I think Black Flash is more of a villain than anyone else in the movie. Very interesting, because the Flash movie does really need to make money, because it's a very expensive movie. It has cost the studio a lot of money, and whether or not it can be a hit or not, we just don't know. The Ezra Miller situation clouds everything, like the Amber Heard situation clouds what kind of box office the Aquaman and Lost Kingdom movie can make. Scott Edwards, is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom very standalone? It's a movie about the subject matter of that movie. The problem is, Scott, with that movie, it's changed. It's changed because of the changes within the studio, because of DC Studios, because I think certain things they added in there may be taken out now. Now, you asked me the question, if Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is set before Flashpoint or afterwards. Well, originally, Michael Keaton's Batman was in that movie. I saw Michael Keaton's Batman in that movie. Now, that would say that this is after Flashpoint, which means now that Michael Keaton's Batman will be removed from that film. Ronnie Dodge, I would imagine the fights between Zod and Kara will be brutal. Yeah, it won't end well for Kara either. Ronnie Dodge, we will find out over the weekend when the trailer drops. Yeah, I mean, I don't expect to find out too much about the film. I think it's a longish trailer, but I don't think they're going to give too many games away about what's going on. So I don't expect to find anything out groundbreaking. But at least for 2.5 minutes, we should be able to see, or what kind of film this final cut of the Flash movie actually is. So that'd be cool. And let's hope it's a great trailer, and let's hope it sells the movie to the public. Very important, because as I say, this movie has to make well over $1 billion because it's an expensive movie. Obviously, the get out clause is, at the end of the day, that this movie is important because it sets up the new universe, but ultimately, it's not James Gunn's movie. Scott Edwards, Aquaman underwent extensive reshoots, right? I'm not sure about extensive. I think they may have got some notes from James Gunn. I'm not sure about extensive reshoots. They have had reshoots. I'm not sure if they're extensive or not. I think the only film that's been locked for a while, for ages, maybe even for a year, is Shazam! Fury of the Gods. They didn't mess with that film because they didn't have to mess with that film. It doesn't really interfere with the future. It's just a standalone movie, really, that doesn't affect kind of the DCU or the Hamada timeline. So I think Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is its own movie. Scott Edwards, I have read Mira's role in the film is too central to her. What? Scott Edwards, I have read Mira's role in the film is too central to cut her completely. I wouldn't say her role's central. I mean, I don't want to get into it, Scott, to be honest with you. But yeah, I don't really want to get into that. But she's not in this film as much as she was in the other film. I mean, listen, they didn't want her in this movie. Walter Hamada tried to stop her from being in the movie pre-production. And obviously, she's a very tenacious woman, and she was able to force her way into the movie. I would say it is difficult to cut her now. Let's see what happens. Ronnie Dodge, Manchester City been very naughty boys, haven't they, Lowell? Yes. Yes. What will Manchester City's punishment be? Look, this is not a surprise to me. We know what goes on there. They've overspent, and this shit is coming to Chelsea as well. Now, City have responded by saying that they've got evidence to disprove everything they're being accused of, but they've been charged. They've been given over 100 charges by the Premier League. So that's how you can disprove 100 charges. I don't know. Scott Edwards, you're going to check out the Flash Season 9 premiere? Probably, yes. I'll check out the first episode, even though apparently it's predominantly a West Allen snorefest, but I'll still watch it. Everyone's having an orgasm. The shippers are excited that it's all about Iris and Barry. That doesn't excite me. But the shields will shield. So yeah, I will check out that opening episode. And whether it's good or not, if it's good, then I'll stay with it. If it bores me, I won't bother. Ronnie Dodge, I'm excited just to see Keaton in one more time. Yeah, listen, it's great to have him. I think, they were trying to use him for an easy fix for the Batman situation. And they were going to use him as their main timeline Batman, which I think was a mistake. So that's not going to happen. But yeah, at least we get to see him in the movie. Scott Edwards, will you watch Boba Fett finale before Mando Season 3 premiere? Probably. Maybe. We'll see. I watched The Last of Us today, starring Pedro Pascal and the brilliant Bella Ramsey. And it's my favourite episode so far because it's about Joel and Ellie. And it was great. I really enjoyed it. And next week's episode is going to be amazing. And it's landing on HBO Max this Friday, not Sunday, because of the Super Bowl. The Animator Who Laughs. Good night, Mick. I'm torn between an alien or more grounded villain for Superman Legacy. I think there's pros and cons to either choice. Let me tell you what I think. And I said this before you came into the chat, my friend. We've had lots of intergalactic villains for Superman in the Snyderverse. I think it will make a nice change to bring someone like Metallo. John Corbin is an ordinary person who's killed and becomes Metallo. To see a human being struggling with that, maybe even making him a friend of Clark's in the movie, I think will be a very powerful story, and I'd prefer that than another intergalactic threat. Ronnie Dodge, Brave and the Bold, I'm so excited. Yes, it's going to be excellent. Scott Edwards, Toyman, I like that. Toyman would be right in James Gunn's alley. I really do. I think Toyman could be a very fun and interesting villain. We saw a little bit of him in Smallville, and I think Smallville did a really, really good live-action version. I'm not sure if the Dean Cain show had Toyman at some stage. I think the Smallville version could be the only version. Please smash the like button. If you love me, only one person loves me thus far. That's not very good for the self-esteem, is it? Welcome to Movies TV Man. A warm welcome to the live chat. This is your stage. Put your comments down there. Ask me questions. What's on your mind? What do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about DC? Do you want to talk about The Last of Us? Do you want to talk about the news that Dexter New Blood is happening for a second series and a Dexter prequel is also happening? What do you think about that? Ronnie Dodge, maybe we will see the introduction of Argus in the DCU. Yes, I think we'll see a lot of these main staples that weren't introduced before. Credit to Arrowverse for introducing these things. The Animator Who Laughs. The ring is that you need a villain to hire Lobo, assuming he's in the movie. Yeah, maybe Lex Luthor could hire Lobo. Scott Edwards, who do you think the villain in the Marvels is? I've no idea because I have no idea about that universe. I mean, could be anyone, my friend. Why don't you tell me who you think will be in it? John, I hope Last of Us Season 2 is as good as Season 1. So do I, John. So do I. This week's episode was really good. And I think this Friday's episode is going to be even better, which means we would have had 2 episodes this week. For me, it's about watching the Joe and Ellie story develop. That's what I'm interested in. Yes, last week's episode was very powerful. I loved it. It's been great so far. But my motivation is for Joe and Ellie because Pedro and Bella are so good. Anyone who's not happy with Bella Ramsey must be a lunatic. I knew she was a great actor, not she. That's not how she identifies as, so I'm not sure. So I'm going to call her Bella, not her. I'm going to say Bella, right? God, it's confusing, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, I loved Bella ever since I saw Bella in Game of Thrones, and when Bella did that monologue, it's really difficult. It really is because I don't think she identifies as she. So yeah, I'm getting lost here. Scott Edwards, Connell Blue will be the final villain of the Flash series. Who is Connell Blue? Never heard of this villain. Tell us a bit about Connell Blue, Scott. Scott Edwards, Cobalt Blue, I mean. Yeah, tell us a bit about Cobalt Blue. But yeah. So, yeah, I'm really getting into The Last of Us. Now, I'm going to be clear. I don't think it's as strong as The Walking Dead, but I like it. I think it's really good. I think The Walking Dead was stronger. I don't think... Did we even see any zombies in today's episode, in last night's episode? I don't think we did. Scott Edwards, he's Barry's long-lost twin brother, Malcolm Thorne. Oh, my God. That's awesome. Looking forward to seeing how they do that. A big work for Grant this season. The Anime Who Laughs. Do you think that any JLA member will be introduced in Superman Legacy? Which ones would you like to see? Well, I think I've got this kind of nagging feeling that we could have the Justice League of America rather than the Justice League. I've just got this feeling that they may be going that direction. I mean, there's so many members. I mean, we've already seen Dr. Fate and Hawkman. I'd love Superman to meet Hawkman, whoever plays him, whether it's the actor from Black Adam or not. But there's so many members. There's so many great versions of Green Lanterns as well. I mean, because the Justice Society of America has had such a huge roster. Who would you like to see from the JLA in Superman Legacy? Scott Edwards, at least in the comics, this version might be an evil Eddie Thawne. Well, Eddie Thawne is in it, so that's what they could do this time. John, how would you end the Flash final season? Well, I think it would be pretty cool if this was a finite ending for the entire universe of Arrowverse, and maybe have a proper Justice League team up, a proper battle, but try and focus it as much as possible on Barry. And when it finishes, that universe is open-ended and they carry on fighting the good fight. Scott Edwards, will you at least watch the final arc? Well, Scott, it depends. If I like it, I will watch it. I won't watch it just to watch it. I have to watch it because it's good. I mean, I'll probably definitely watch the premiere and the finale. I don't know about the whole season. Because these shows just have so many fillers. I just don't have the concentration levels. I mean, I'm surprised at myself. I'm sticking with The Last of Us, so I'm getting interested in that. I think The Last of Us is very, very good. Really getting into that. And surprise, surprise, with the success of Scream, they're going to do another I Know What You Did Last Summer. Give me a fucking break. How creatively bankrupt are they? Scott Edwards, will we see Arrowverse Justice League in the series finale? Possibly, yeah. The animator who laughs. I like to see Ted Kord and Captain Atom. Yeah, Captain Atom and Ted Kord would be great. I'd like to see them as well. Because we're not really getting a Ted Kord in the Blue Beetle movie. We're getting a Victoria Kord. Yeah, they've swapped the genders on us. They like to do that these days, don't they? What can I say? And I suppose that Blue Beetle movie, whether or not it'll be involved in the new universe, depends how successful the movie is. That's the Zaslav way. I think Smallville did a really good job with the JSA in Absolute Justice in Smallville Series 9. I thought that was really cool. Smallville, so many achievements, such a great show. Did a better job of a live action DC universe than anyone's done before on a lower budget as well. And now James Gunn's here, we can get a proper comic book DC universe with no messing about, not slowly building up. Yet you've got a pre-existing universe there, which I think is really, really cool. But I think there's a possibility that we get JSA instead of the Justice League. That wouldn't surprise me at all. John, the best I know what you did last summer movies are the first two. I never watched any of them. I had no interest in those films whatsoever. And yeah, it's a disaster. Scott Edwards, Rey and Grogu in the next Star Wars movie? Why not? Why not? Who knows? Who knows? I mean, the thing is, Daisy Ridley did a good job with what she was given. I mean, I'm not one of those who hates Rey, to be honest with you. I thought Rey and Finn were brilliant in The Force Awakens, but because Abrams wasn't involved in the second movie, all that fell to the wayside, and he split Finn and Rey up, which was a big mistake. I think if J.J. Abrams wrote and directed The Last Jedi, and it probably wouldn't have been called The Last Jedi, I think it probably would have been a more successful and better movie. They had no business throwing in Rian Johnson in that second movie. They should have given Rian Johnson a Star Wars story or a standalone trilogy. That's what they should have done. But you don't just throw a director and say to them, you can do what the fuck you want. Don't worry about the first movie. That's where the problems lay with that. And more than anything, I mean, The Last Jedi didn't make me angry. It just underwhelmed me at the end. I mean, you go to the end and you've got Rey giving Poe fuck me eyes, which I thought was ridiculous. And then you've got that kid who suddenly can be a Jedi because anyone can be a Jedi now, right? Ridiculous, which makes it less special. I don't think Rey was really my problem. I know everyone calls her a Mary Sue, but that weren't really my real issue. I mean, Rey wasn't the focal point of my complaints about the sequel trilogy. But she was definitely misused in the second movie. I mean, her interactions with Mark Hamill were great. Reno Jack, hello Mick. Good evening, Reno. What have you got to say this evening? It's a Monday night. It's 5 to 10 here in Cyprus, and I hope everyone's well. Why don't you let me know where in the world you're from? All of you. Where are you? Scott Edwards, I think the Mandoverse is in a different timeline than the sequel trilogy. I don't think it's in a different timeline. I mean, it's in a different time, isn't it? I think it's all part of the same universe, considering we've already seen hints to the clones of the villain of A Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. So I think it's the same. I think it's the same universe. Obviously, I think it's set just after the Return of Jedi, if I'm correct. The animator who laughs and look. Oh, Angola, Africa. Cool. Never been there. Scott Edwards, they can do whatever they want with the world between worlds. Reno Jack, LA, sir. Welcome, LA. Do I miss LA or do I miss LA? Going for a walk in LA is like going on another planet. I remember first landing in LA and just thinking, Jesus Christ, this place can't be real. And I had, for 6 months, I had a lot of fun in LA many, many years ago when I was trying to make my American dream come true. John, UK, yes. Born and bred in the UK, Southeast London. I now live in Cyprus, of course. But LA is nuts, nuts. California. I remember going to a party with a cast member of the OC being there. That was fucking nuts. That was surreal. Scott Edwards, the world between worlds makes different timelines possible. Has that really even have we seen any evidence that they're doing that, Scott? Isn't that something like kind of more Star Wars fan fiction rather than actually in the world of live action or animation? I've heard it mentioned before, but I haven't seen any evidence of it in the actual content. Scott Edwards, nope, it was in Star Wars Rebels. Oh, right, in the animation then. Yeah, but it's never been in the live action, has it? Think you may be reaching this, Scott. Scott Edwards, Ezra pulled Ahsoka from the timeline. Scott Edwards, Ashoka, right. So we've seen it in there. But there's been no hint they're going to use that in live action. We'll have to wait and see, I suppose. I'm not saying it won't happen, but there's been no kind of I mean, we haven't had a Star Wars movie for so many years. And I mean, it's a joke. John, isn't one of the cast members from the OC in Shazam? That's right. The lad who played Seth. He plays the older version of Freddie Freeman. Perfect casting. I was well happy with that casting. I used to love the OC. California, here we come. Yeah, they did a TV spot for Fury of the Gods yesterday. Looks interesting. Scott Edwards, they could do a Flashpoint type thing where they do a soft reboot. They could do, but there's been no hint of this happening, Scott. No hint whatsoever from anyone at Lucasfilm. But who knows? Who knows indeed? I think with Kennedy there, that's unlikely. If she goes, they may try something. At the moment, there's a bit of a divide there. You've got Favreau and Dave Filoni on one side. You've got Kathleen Kennedy on the other side. It's a mess. It really is. I mean, Obi-Wan Kenobi was terrible. It was terrible. It was bad. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. None of it really made sense. It was crazy. Utterly disappointing. I don't think they'll do a season 2 of Kenobi unless, I mean, once I knew that Kenobi wasn't part of Filoni and Favreau's side of it, I knew it was going to be shit, and I knew what she was going to try and do with it. And she did. Scott Edwards, why do people hate the Obi-Wan show? Because it's bad, my friend. In most of people's opinions, and mine, it's badly done. Or have you forgotten when they're chasing after baby Leia and she's running really slow and they still can't catch her? But all round, for me, it was a bad show. Underwhelming. John, do you think Zack Snyder Flashpoint movie was going to be like the comics. I think it was going to be close to the comics. I mean, that was the first Flash movie they announced. It was going to be a Flashpoint. So I think they were going to really go there with that. I mean, it would have been more Zack Snyder-ish, but they were going to use that film so they could basically, so he could finish what he did, and then they could start again. That was the idea. But yes, John, yes. Scott Edwards, the action was amazing. Was it? Go back and watch Revenge of the Sith. Go back and watch that pod race in The Phantom Menace. Then tell me the action was amazing in Obi-Wan. I mean, that's your personal opinion, which you're entitled to. But I found the whole thing very underwhelming, and I thought it was pointless. He shouldn't even have been interacting with Leia when she was young. It doesn't make sense. John, they could have had Flashpoint Batman. That's exactly what they were going to do. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who played Batfleck's dad in BVS, was going to be the Flashpoint Batman. That's who they were going to use, Thomas Wayne. And then in Machete's movie, they decided to use Michael Keaton instead. Now, personally, I'd rather have had like the comic book version of Batman in Flashpoint, which is Thomas Wayne, which would have been the irrepressible, talented Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Sam Dejan reviews. Good evening. Metallo, Parasite or Toyman. Yeah, good choices. I'd be well happy with that. I think there's some really brilliant villains in the Superman universe that have never been used before. And I think it's time for them to be used. I mean, I was surprised they used Zod in Man of Steel. I mean, Zod worked in Man of Steel because he was dramatically different from Terrence Stamp's Zod, which I think is very important. Zod will return in the Flash movie, which is very exciting. One of the reasons I'm excited for that movie. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a very interesting year for DC fans, that's for sure. Well, there's never a quiet moment in DC, is there? Let's be honest about it. The Scott Edwards, the final lightsaber fight was amazing. Was awesome. Well, it's the first lightsaber fight we've had in Disney Star Wars, I think, since The Force Awakens, probably. Or did we have something in the last Skywalker? Is that what it's called? What's the? Oh, I forgot. The Rise of Skywalker. That's it. John, how much money can you see each DC movie making this year? Right. Well, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, John, I think could potentially make around 600 million if it does well. It's got China, and I think that's what Black Adam would have made with China. So that will make around just over 600 million. The Flash movie, I mean, it really does depend. I mean, potentially, I think that movie could make around 700 or 800 million if it does well. If it's a shocking success, then it could really do well. But we've spoken about DC movies doing well before, and we've been shocked how little they've made. But I think the Flash movie could make around 700, 800 million if it does well. Blue Beetle, I think around 500 million, maybe, if they're lucky. And Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom's an interesting one because of Amber Heard. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that movie. I'm not sure if that movie is going to make as much as the first one. And that's how I see that. You would expect the Flash movie to make the most, but DC movies are unpredictable. That might not be the case. They need the Flash movie to make the most because they spent a hell of a lot of money making that film. So they're really going to promote the shit out of it. I would hope. These films are difficult because everybody knows they're part of something else, but they've got to release them. They've got to come out finally this year. And what connection they've got to the future, we don't know, apart from the Flash movie setting up James and Peter's brand new timeline. So the box office is, I think, DC box offices are very unpredictable. I mean, really, the only films to do well in the past few years are the Joker movie and the Batman movie that have absolutely nothing to do with the DCEU. And that tells you a lot. And that tells you how damaged the DC Extended Universe was. Because the Batman did well, nothing to do with DCEU, and so did the Joker. All the rest of them have really been disappointing in terms of box office. Birds of Prey, The Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman 84, really, that film, we don't even know what it really made because of the pandemic. I think it's going to be interesting with the villain or villains for Superman Legacy, and I think it could be the Authority. I think that wouldn't surprise me. At the moment, I think I'm going to stay here for the hour mark because it's not looking too lively here tonight. So we'll see what happens. If we get a few more people in, I'll stay. But at the moment, it's not very, very lively. And I can't do this on my own. I need people to come into the chat. Otherwise, lives don't work. That's how lives work. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't mind. I don't mind. We've a bit of a nice chat so far. So if it all dies by an hour, it dies by an hour. That's life, isn't it? But we've had our big DC news. I don't see any more announcements coming anytime soon, but maybe James and Peter will surprise us and make some announcements. You know, feed us slowly to keep us interested. So I expect the Flash movie to be the biggest success out of all the films, considering, and I think Blue Beetle and the Flash will probably be the two most successful movies, because I think of the test screening reactions for the Flash have been great and Blue Beetle. So that says a lot. And it's being hyped up. The Flash movie is a very good movie as well. That will really help. But obviously the Ezra Miller situation, like the Amber Heard situation, is a big problem. That's the unpredictable facet of the Flash movie. Are people going to boycott the Flash movie in their droves? Are they going to forgive and forget? And once the marketing push happens, will they just decide to watch the movie? It's going to be very, very interesting. It could be a possibility that none of these DC movies make $1 billion. Sam DeJean-Rius, do you think Steve Trevor will be part of the Suicide Squad? It happened in the comics. I mean, because we're heading for a new universe and it's a new timeline, that can happen. Do I see how he's doing this timeline and how it works and how it correlates between the old DCEU and whatever's new? But I'm assuming that some things will exist in a new timeline and some things won't. So maybe Steve Trevor could be a thing again. Might be a new actor, maybe Chris Pine. Who knows? But Yeah, I would like that. I think that would be a really cool thing. I suppose that's up to James Gunn, how he sees Steve Trevor. But I think Steve Trevor's a very, very interesting character, and I would like to see him again. I think they shouldn't have killed him off in the first Wonder Woman film. I think that was a mistake. Kind of works for the piece, but ultimately you do want to see him again. That's why I never liked them killing off Nicholson's Joker at the end of Batman 89, but I'm assuming that Nicholson was too expensive to keep on bringing back. And it was always, you know, obviously it didn't matter in the end, but it was good that Christopher Nolan didn't kill off Ledger's Joker, but ultimately he died, so they couldn't use him anyway. Scott Edwards, Mira should not suffer because of Amber. Well, here's the thing. She's played by Amber. That's the problem. That's all people care about, Scott. I think in the new universe, she'll be played by someone else. It will be a clean and tidy situation. So Mira will be back, I'm sure of it. But obviously, we won't see Aquaman for a while in the new universe, I'm guessing. So it won't be much of a problem going forward. But Mira will suffer because of who's playing her, Scott. That's the way. That is the way of the situation. And the Aquaman movie, the Aquaman sequel, could suffer because of Amber Heard. Mira's a great character, but them's the breaks, I'm afraid. I mean, thankfully, I think all the legal proceedings are over now. I think she's done a deal with Johnny Depp moving forward. So hopefully it's all over now because I'm bored of it. They're both a couple of nut jobs. I'm not taking either side. They're both mad. They fucked each other over. Move on. He was stoned and drunk, all through that relationship. He married a hot younger woman because she was a hot younger woman. And he got bit. He messed around. He fucked with the wrong Marine, I'm afraid. Welcome to Movies TV Mad. Smash the like button if you love me. Subscribe if you're new. Scott Edwards, is Bo-Katan the villain in Mando Season 3, or is there a bigger threat? I think Bo-Katan could be the main villain of that series. Definitely a power struggle for the Black Saber. That's how I see how they ended Season 2, and I see nothing else. I don't see anything else being the main storyline. Leo Pereira. Hi, bro. Good evening, Leo. I hope you're doing well. I'm live here in Cyprus. It's 11:15 normally. Normally, it is nearly 11:15. Not normally, it is 11:15. And we're talking DC and all forms of entertainment, whatever you want to talk about. Scott Edwards, I think Sabine Wren may appear in Mando Season 3. Maybe she'll even appear more realistically in the Ahsoka series. Ahsoka! Really, I would have preferred if the Ahsoka series was a Clone Wars series. I think that would have been fun. And then you could have used Hayden Christensen properly, full on. If you're doing the Clone Wars, you can use Hayden and Ewan properly. The problem is, it looks like Kathleen Kennedy's hijacked those actors for her side of Star Wars. So it's a pretty insane situation. Scott Edwards, she's confirmed for Ahsoka, played by Natasha Liu Bordizzo. Well, that's exciting. As I guessed. Good guess then, because I didn't know that. So I'm excited for Ahsoka. It should be a really, really good series. But it's all streaming shows for Star Wars. Where are the movies? They've teased us the mystery movie with the guy who does 4. Will that happen? Who knows? We were going to get the Patty Jenkins one, which is not happening. It's clear. The whole thing is so messy. You know, Star Wars literally invented the blockbuster. And, you know, the last time we saw a Star Wars movie is 4 years ago. So it's a big shame, big tragedy. Disney destroyed Star Wars. It's as simple as that. But it didn't destroy Star Wars. Star Wars pre-exists with the Lucas universe and what George did, all his 6 movies. His animation was absolutely fantastic. But the rest of it, I mean, I do like Mando. I will say that I do like Mando. Pedro Pascal is the most busiest guy in Hollywood. He's just very good in these roles where he's mentoring like a younger character. It's just amazing, amazing. It's going to be interesting with The Last of Us because we do know that Joel dies. I think, did Joel die in the second game? I think Joel did die in the second game, right? So it's going to be interesting. I mean, that would change everything, wouldn't it? And it'd be interesting, how many seasons can you get out of 2 games? I mean, they're going to have to move beyond the games if they want this to go on for 5 years or so. I don't think it'll be 3 seasons. It'll be 5. It was weird watching that episode. That woman was interrogating that doctor. And she went out and those 2 guys were injured. She goes, do we need a doctor? And they said, no, it's too late. So she kills the doctor. But I mean, how does she know nobody else is going to be injured? You're going to get other injuries. Why would you kill the doctor? That's really short-sighted, right? So I thought that was a bit strange. Not the best of leaders. I think Star Wars Rebels, though, was amazing. That was such a good show. Oh, there's no one in the chat now. I'm all on my lonesome. Nobody loves me. We'll see. We'll give it another 6 minutes to see if anyone turns up. Obviously, if you're rewatching this, you can forward it to see if anyone turned up. But at the moment, there's no one here. It's a bit of a dead night. Louise Berry, Giancarlo Esposito as Brainiac. Well, he's a very good actor. I mean, he's in everything at the moment, isn't he? I do like him. I mean, he's been in a lot of things. And he always seems to play the villain, doesn't he? But I think there's so many actors who could play Brainiac. I don't think it would be him, but yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to him doing it. That's for sure. If it is indeed Brainiac, I don't think he's going to do Brainiac. I don't really think Brainiac is a James Gunn villain, but who knows? Louise Berry. So Ben Kingsley will be great as Brainiac too. Ben Kingsley is amazing. I mean, wow, what an actor. Ronnie Dodge, I'm back. Welcome back, Ronnie. Bit of a dead chat at the moment, Ronnie. So hit me with something. Hit me with something. Get my vocal cords going. The more and more I think of it, I think the Authority are going to be the villains in this. And this is why he's setting them up. Louise Berry, Jason Momoa as Lobo. Well, that's the rumor. That's what they've been hinting about. So I'm assuming Lobo will definitely be in Superman Legacy, but I don't think Lobo will ever be a main villain in any movie. I think he'll be a supporting character in Superman Legacy, but not the main villain. I don't think Lobo can ever be a main villain. I don't really see Lobo as a villain as such. But definitely I'm excited that they've been hinting about Lobo. Ronnie Dodge, I was thinking they have to get the Clark and Lois casting right if they are around for 10 years and need chemistry. Well, yeah, I think definitely. We need a Margot Kidder and a Christopher Reeve, don't we? Let's be honest about it. A Dean Cain and a Terry Hatcher, an Erica Durance and Tom Welling. We need something really, really special. I'm not convinced that Bitsy Tulloch and Tyler Hoechlin have got great chemistry, but we have to have some really, really good. Yeah, I think with what he's been hinting about, that the Clark, Superman and Lois relationship is going to be integral. It should always be integral. What did Richard Donner say in the development of Superman the movie? To make this movie work, you've got to make the love story work. And the love story works in Superman the movie. And predominantly, that's why Superman the movie works as well. Because you have stakes, emotional stakes between those two characters. And growing up in the 80s, I loved Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve. And you really believed those two were in love. And it was amazing in the first two movies, for sure. So you're right, Ronnie, they do. I mean, I've been calling for Karen Gillan, I think, because James Gunn's been talking about working with his Guardians actors. Wouldn't surprise me if Karen Gillan plays Lois Lane. I think she'd be excellent. Ronnie Dodge, I wonder if Clark and Lois are already together or close friends in Legacy. It's interesting. We're talking about a non-origin story. He's already at the Daily Planet, so it's clear that they know each other. Or could he introduce Lois Lane in this movie? Who knows? But I think it's a pre-existing universe, so I think they'll know each other. I'd be disappointed if they're already in a relationship. I want to see that, build out. But yeah, he has to get that right. This is a film, Superman Legacy, that's going to justify his legacy and the character that he's always been. And that's what legacy means. I mean, they could already be together. I doubt it, though. I doubt they would do that. But yeah, the casting of Lois Lane is as interesting and as important as the casting for Clark Kent and Superman. So it's going to be really cool to see what direction James Gunn goes with all of this. But this is a film that's not released till not 2 summers' time. And so there's so much time. So I don't think we're going to get casting for a very, very long time. So, Superman, Ronnie Dodge, maybe Lois finds out Clark is Superman in the movie. I think they may go that direction. It depends how pre-existing this universe is and if they already are dating. Maybe she already know, but I don't think so. I think these are things that will happen within the movie. I think they will have Lois Lane knowing the secret or finding it out or guessing it very quickly. I mean, Man of Steel, they literally had Lois. Well, with Man of Steel, it was interesting because she meets Clark first, so she knows she knows who he is immediately. So they don't make a big deal out of her knowing who he is. She does. She obviously does. The animator who loves, do you think Jimmy will be in the movie? I think Jimmy Olsen will be in Superman Legacy, yeah, and I want that to be the case. Ronnie Dodge, the one thing I'm excited for is Clark and Bruce's friendship build up in the DCU. Yeah, that's going to be fun. James Gunn's spoken about their friendship before, so I think that's going to be a thing. And as I've said before, I expect Batman, or at least Bruce Wayne, to appear in Superman Legacy. Superman Legacy is a film that's going to build out this DC universe and introduce us to this DC universe. So I think it's a Superman movie, but you're going to see that other heroes exist within this movie. Ronnie Dodge, any fan castings for Alfred Lowell? I mean, look, anyone British, really. I mean, it's obviously going to be someone British. I mean, it could be at this stage anyone. I mean, Peter Capaldi. How about that? Peter Capaldi as Alfred, right? He's British. Yeah. I think Peter Capaldi would be an excellent Alfred. An insane Alfred. And I think the other guy in the Batman universe would have his, work cut out for him if Peter Capaldi got to play that role. Ronnie Dodge or Perry White. Yeah, Peter Capaldi as either would be fucking nuts. Brilliant nuts. I'll be well excited about that. Of course, Perry White is a very important character as well. So it'll be interesting to see who plays him. Ronnie Dodge, I love Perry. Has his outbursts in the comics. Yeah, he's cool. He's such a great character. He was great in the Christopher Reeve movies. I liked him in Smallville as well when we saw him. Great in the Lois and Clark show as well. The animator who lost. What about Peter as Lex? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Is he too old? I don't know. I really don't. Might be slightly too old. I mean, he would be a great Lex Luthor. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Peter Capaldi has great quality. He could play absolutely anyone. Love him. Great actor. Depends. I mean, he's killed him off as the Thinker now anyway. Peter would be a great Lex, though. Definitely. MSGT, I wouldn't mind at all if they establish that Lex exists within Metropolis, but stay away from him. I would mind that very much, MSGT. He will be involved. He won't be the main villain. But yeah, I want Lex Luthor to be a part of this universe. I don't want to just hear his name. That would be bad for me. I wouldn't like that at all. Ronnie Dodge, what if Lex is already in prison as Clark has already dealt with him? Maybe. And maybe he goes and visits him in jail. That'd be cool. Louis Berry. I mean, look, in All-Star Superman, he's in prison and Clark Kent interviews him. So they could be going for the same aesthetic. Lois Berry. I want Austin Butler as Supes and General Ortega as Lois Lane. No. Austin Butler as Supes would be great, but General Ortega as Lois Lane, not for me, but everyone has their tastes. The animator who laughs. It would be interesting if Idris Elba's Bloodsport has an appearance. Louis Berry, hope so in that and in Peacemaker Season 2. Well, he ain't going to be doing Peacemaker Season 2 for a long time. He said he can't do it now because he's working on Superman Legacy. But yeah, Idris Elba, continuing that arc of trying to kill Superman will be interesting. Ronnie Dodge, who would you cast as Martha? Ooh, that's a good one. Martha. Well, it depends how old you want her to be. Of course, you could use Annette O'Toole, who played Martha in Smallville, if she's kind of more older, because obviously Annette is older than she once was. You could go that way. But yeah, there's lots of actresses out there who make a great Martha. MSGT, I meant in this first movie, Lex being attached to Superman's hip in every movie is boring. It's like Batman and Joker. Well, seeing Joker in a Batman movie isn't boring to me. And seeing Lex Luthor as a character who's not the main villain, but who's this, overarching businessman isn't boring to me. Iconic characters, MSGT, aren't boring to me. Louis Berry, they said Peacemaker Season 2 is just on hold and hope to get Bloodsport in Waller. I haven't heard anyone say that, but Peacemaker Season 2 isn't happening at this moment in time because James is very busy with Superman Legacy. Ronnie Dodge, I didn't think of Bloodsport in Legacy. Ryan Cinematics, DCU fan, I just got my first Superman comic, All-Star Superman. I am looking forward to reading it to study the material and the character. Yeah, it's a great graphic novel, Ryan. Ronnie Dodge, I feel Barry's Joker will be in the Batman Part 2. Yes, I'm not sure because he claims that he hasn't been approached yet, but he could be lying. Let's see. Let's see. That's an interesting one. No confirmation yet, but there's no confirmation of anything in Batman 2 apart from, obviously, the main actor as Batman, Robert Pattinson. Well, I am a big fan of Lex Luthor. I'm a big fan of the Joker, and I don't find them boring. Just like I didn't find it boring that Cliff Barnes and J.R. Ewing were always fighting in Dallas. It's part of the thing. It's fun. It's cool. It's exciting. It's iconic. MSGT, sure, but they act like these iconic characters are only characters. Go back to 1970 and see how 1978 and go how they flip back and forth between Lex, Zod up to BVS. Well, listen, MSGT, you can have Lex Luthor and you can have other villains and other dynamics, right? You don't have to get rid of Lex Luthor. Now, I don't think Man of Steel necessarily is the god of Superman, and we should all do it like that film. I would have liked to have seen Lex Luthor in Man of Steel, even as a businessman, even as someone who was just there in the background. It would have been fun to me. Not a deal breaker that he wasn't involved, but I would like Lex to be in this movie and part of this world. Lex Luthor is a huge character, not just for Metropolis and the Superman universe, but for DC in general. And I want him there, and I think he will be there. And it'd be very interesting who's going to play Lex. Ronnie Dodge, I feel we will see Krypto coming into the DCU, maybe in Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I think we're going to see Krypto. It wouldn't surprise me if we see Krypto in Superman Legacy. That's very, very James Gunn. He's an animal lover. I think we will see Krypto in this. That's the kind of world this is going to be. And that's part of the reason I'm excited for all of this stuff. So I do expect to see Krypto in the first DCU movie, Superman Legacy. And I say, yeah, why not? It'll be interesting to see how Kara comes to Earth as well in Superman Woman of Tomorrow. If she does come to Earth, maybe it won't be set on Earth. Who knows? MSGT, see what I mean? MOS was Zod. BVS was Lex. Superman the movie was Lex. Superman 2 was Zod. Superman 4 was Lex. Superman Returns was Lex. Yes, I know that, but it doesn't mean just because those films did that you can't use those characters again. And Lex Luthor can be used sparingly. He don't have to be your main character. That's what I'm trying to explain to you, MSGT. You can have Lex, but I have other characters. So I don't think Lex Luthor should be punished and not be in Superman movies just because he was in a lot of Superman movies. He's a great character. Always liked seeing Lex Luthor. So, yeah, I want to see more of him. Ronnie Dodge, Clark is 25, so it will be interesting how old Martha will be. I think that Martha will be, I think she'll be about between maybe 60 and 70. Anime to last, would you prefer the JL movie to have a team of villains as the villains like the Legion of Doom or a big powerhouse villain like Darkseid? I think the Justice League versus the where are we? The Legion of Doom. Yeah, I think that will be a really, really good thing. We'll see what plans, if any, he's got for Justice League, because he hasn't mentioned them. But yeah, Legion of Doom versus a Justice League would be something I would prefer over another kind of intergalactic villain. I don't see Darkseid being involved, but it's gods and monsters, so anything's possible. Ronnie Dodge, what about for a Justice League movie we have Ares as the villain? That would be great. That would be fun. I think he's going to introduce gods that we haven't seen in live action before. I think that's where he's going to go with this. I mean, the new gods could definitely be involved. We will see. Lex Luthor is such a big part of the Superman world and the DC world. He's not just someone who's there because they want him to be there. He's important, very important, because he's the opposite. That's what I meant by having Lex in Metropolis, but stay away. There are other villains, and Lex or Zod thinks 1978 is lazy, though. Superman 3 had a computer villain or something. Are we going to start on the Christopher Reeve universe now that it was lazy? Well, I mean, if I want to say lazy, I love Man of Steel, but if you want me to rip apart Man of Steel and BVS for laziness, my friend, I will. I don't want Lex Luthor to stay away. He can be in the film, if that's what you mean, that he's in the background, but we still see him. That's one thing. So, right, let's have a look what you're saying here again so we can tear it apart. That's what I mean by having Lex in Metropolis. There are other villains. The Lex or Zod thinks is 1978 is lazy. It's not lazy whatsoever. Zod was brilliant in both Man of Steel and Superman 2. It wasn't lazy at all. Superman 3 had a computer villain or something. Well, technology was the villain, but more than that, it was a megalomaniac. Again, look, all I'm going to say to you is, MSGT, that growing up, we had the best Superman of all time. In Superman the movie, in Superman 2, Superman flew more times than he did in Man of Steel. I can throw lazy back at you very easily. But Lex Luthor is a very important part, and he's not just someone you can get rid of just because you're not happy that he's been in a lot of movies. Ronnie Dodge, Lanterns will discover that secret on Earth that leads into the bigger story for Chapter 1, and I believe that is the tie-in for a Green Lantern movie also in Chapter 1. Ronnie Dodge, Lex shouldn't be punished because he didn't work in BVS. MSGT, well, you can. MMS went right back to Zod. BVS went right back to Lex. But just because, basically, you've got a wafer-thin argument. Because Lex and Zod have been used a lot, you think we should just get rid of Lex Luthor. No. Lex Luthor's important. It doesn't matter how many times Lex is being used. He's being used that much because he's important, and fans would be disappointed. And we're not going to not have him. Yes, Lex and Zod have been used only, but that doesn't mean you don't get to use Lex again. Lex I prefer him not to be the main villain, but Lex Luthor must be involved. I don't expect James Gunn to use Zod. So part of your wishes are going to come true, that Zod won't be used, but Lex Luthor is an important character, and I don't care if he's been in 100 movies or 100 shows, he's important, and he needs to be there. Ronnie Dodge, I can see Clark helping Kara to find her inner hero as Chapter 1 goes on. I would imagine so, Ronnie. I mean, I expect to see them share the screen together at some point. It's pretty clear that James and Peter are not just going to throw a bunch of content at us back to back, and this universe is going to take its time, so everything is done in the right way. So I agree, Lex Luthor should have been the main villain, but he should be there on screen. It's not about who a film uses. It's about the characterizations, that it's entertaining, that it works, that it has stakes. It doesn't matter about who you use as the actors, right? If Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor was done in a different way, it could have worked. You could have had Alexander Luthor Sr. and Lex Luthor Jr. in BVS, and it would have been interesting. You could have had a Harry Osborn kind of, with Harry Osborn, yeah, Norman Osborn and Harry Osborn dynamic, like they did in Smallville with Lionel and Lex. So there's interesting. It's not about who you cast, because whoever you cast is going to be able to be a proficient actor. It's how it's directed, it's how it's written, it's how it's executed. Ronnie George, how we see Bizarro down the line. Yeah, Bizarro's a great character again, a difficult character to perfect. Now, Smallville did a great version, and also Superman and Lois did a very good version as well. But he's a great character. Mixapixelic, he's an interesting character. We saw him in Arrowverse. I actually think Lex could be one of the first casting announcements. I've got a feeling. This is Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick. MSGT, I keep reading that Superman has a wide array of villains, yet we never see them. The movies always focus only on Lex or Zod. I would like this next movie to do something more. Yes, MSGT. Let me repeat myself again. This movie will do something more. The main villain will be someone other than Lex or Zod. But Lex has to be part of Superman's world. So Lex will be there, but they will use another villain as the main villain apart from Lex. Happy? That's it. But no, Lex Luthor shouldn't be deleted from the Superman world and not be on screen because you're not happy that he's been in lots of movies. So you're going to get what you want. You're going to get a main villain that's not Lex or Zod. So I don't really understand what your beef is here. But what you're saying is you want Lex to be off screen and just mentioned. No, no, no. No creative is ever going to do that. Back Super Metallo as main villain would be cool. Yeah, he's in my script that I wrote for a Superman movie. Ronnie Dodge, we did have a Mongol, but she got chopped up by a helicopter. Oh, yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, that was crazy, wasn't it? We are going to get, I'm pretty sure, we're going to have a main villain that isn't Lex or Zod. So what is actually the issue? What's the issue? I mean, you've got this first that Lex Luthor's not on screen just because he's been used a lot. It means you don't really understand how important Lex Luthor is to Superman. He's very important character. And Smallville proved that. Smallville proved that. How dare Smallville have Lex in every episode of Smallville for 7 seasons? Oh dear. Can't have that, can we? Because that's how important he is. He's more than just a villain. He's an important character. He's part of the fabric. So you can have a main villain who's not Lex or Zod, but you can still have Lex Luthor as part of the film. You can have both. Ronnie Dodge, we did have Ronnie Dodge. The question is, will James go Trunks or no Trunks? I think he's going Trunks. I think he's going to go Trunks. I think he knows who he wants to please, and that's the comic book fans, because they really haven't been pleased. I mean, I don't think because you've got Lex and Zod as villains, it was lazy, either in MOS or Superman 2. I don't think that's lazy. The animator who laughs, do you think that Doomsday can be used again, or do you think they should avoid him? Well, I wouldn't use Doomsday immediately, and I don't think they will. But I think once you get to the end of the 10 years or whatever, you could actually do the death of Superman, which would be cool. MSGT, I get that. But to this day, after 7 Superman movies, only one movie bothered to do anything else. Yes, I get your point. We know that. But there you have it. That's what they did. We can't go back in history, can we? We can't change that. That's what they did. I mean, there's a reason why Lex is being used a lot, because he's that important. But, you know, you could argue that they could have chosen someone different. That's why they had General Zod in Superman 2. Before then, Zod, you know, only played a bit part in Superman the movie. So that was really a fresh character. And then Zod in Man of Steel was a dramatically different version to the Zod we had in Superman 2. So it all works out. And in Superman 4, we had Lex, but we had Nuclear Man as the physical threat. Ronnie Dodge, I think most comic book and Superman fans haven't been pleased with Henry's Superman. We're getting joyful Superman now, yeah. And I think the reason it's not Henry is because you can't all of a sudden decide that Henry Cavill is a completely different characterization than we saw before. So they're starting afresh. They want a younger Superman so he can age out properly in the next 10 years. Ronnie George, that wasn't Henry's fault, to be honest. It wasn't Henry's fault. Henry was a victim of the people who were writing for him. Zack Snyder, Chris Terrio, you know, the people who were making decisions let Henry down narratively. And in the end, it was made impossible for him to carry on as Superman. And it's a shame. But he got to play Superman for a little while. It's more than most actors' opportunities that most actors will get. I'm afraid it is what it is. I mean, he's barely in the Snyder Cut. Barely in the Snyder Cut. I mean, crazy. To decide to do a rebirth story for Superman in a Justice League movie, I would never understand that. I think it's insane. I really do. I'll argue with anyone who thinks it was a good idea to do a Superman rebirth story in a Justice League movie. Scott Edwards, Mongo. Mongo is a great character. There's loads of villains that it could be. I've got a feeling it'll be a group of people. If you have a group of villains against Superman, that means he's got more of a challenge. Ronnie Dodge, I still see people say sell the Snyders to Netflix. They're not giving up. It's over. Well, I support that campaign, Ronnie, because it is unlikely. Of course it is. But, you know, that side of the fandom are not being toxic, at least, and they're doing something good. So if they're not hurting anyone and if they're not insulting anyone, that's good. It's the other side of the Snyderverse stands who are attacking James Gunn. They're the ones I don't really have time for. But, if they want to have, there's a big campaign on the 14th of February, Valentine's Day. Be interesting how good that goes. Scott Edwards, Superman and Lois ends with season 3 or 4. I think Superman and Lois will go for 5 seasons. Ronnie George, I hope we see the Court of Owls for Batman in the DCU. Well, they're doing it. They're doing it in that new Batman series on the CW. I mean, not a good idea. So I don't know. And I think the Court of Owls may be coming to the Batman 2, maybe rather than DCU. Obviously, James and Peter and Matt have discussed which one's going to do on their thing and they're going to do on their thing, so they're not repeating themselves, which is, of course, very, very important. I'm not sure if we'll get the Court of Owls anytime soon in Batman, Brave and the Bold, or DCU. Who knows? We're going to have Ra's al Ghul. We're going to have Talia al Ghul because you have to have them because of Damian Wayne. So I think we're going down that direction. We're going down the League of Assassins, and so that kind of whatever that brings with it. And I think it's going to be Brave and the Bold's going to be a very exciting film for Batman fans. I think proper comic book, proper. James Gunn has quoted so many comic books in those announcements, and it's Brave and the Bold. The film will be based on a Grant Morrison run as well. So he's looking to integrate these comic books with this live action, which is something fans have been calling for many years and have never got. And we've spoken about BVS and how they tried to stuff the death of Superman and the Dark Knight Returns in BVS. And you can't do that. And James is really looking, focus on one film, focus on a graphic novel or something, rather like Superman Woman, not like Supergirl, should I say, Woman of Tomorrow. Yeah, so I'm fine with sell Snyderverse to Netflix. They're not hurting anyone. They're fighting their cause. And we thought the Snyder Cut, release the Snyder Cut was a waste of time. And look what happened there. Anything's possible in this business. There's certainly business to be made from the Snyderverse. But whether they decide to leave it or not, who knows? Ronnie Dodge, yeah, fair point, Mick. Yeah, I think if you go on Twitter, Ronnie, you'll see that the Snyderverse fans pushing to sell Snyderverse to Netflix are telling people not to attack James Gunn. They're trying to be nice and they're saying don't do that and avoid people who are doing that. So I really like them and I support them because they're not doing anything toxic. They're not hurting anyone. As long as they're not attacking people, I'm fine with it. Even if it's unrealistic, it's something they're doing for their fandom and it's good. So it will be interesting to see how well that trend will go because, Zaslav will be watching that. Zaslav's known about it for quite a while, that trending event, that thing that they've been planning. So Netflix will be watching that as well. Be interesting. And we know they will be selling stuff off to other streamers as well. So, yes, there's possibilities here. Don't forget, Warner Brothers are desperate to raise $3 billion because of the debts of the merger and because of the lackluster leaderships before Discovery. I think Discovery are doing the right things. Waz 007. Hi, everyone from England. Hello, Waz. Good evening to you. We're talking DC. We're talking entertainment in general. The floor is yours, of course. I am a mere moderator. Well, I'm more than a moderator, really, aren't I? But you get my meaning. Waz 007, Parasite need bad guy for Superman film. That would be good, Parasite. It's another one. There's just so many you can use, but I think it will be a group. Something like the Elite, look, he's mentioned the Authority. Clearly, the Authority, if he's using them, he's building them up, and they could very well be part of everything. And it wouldn't surprise me if the new DCU timeline is a period piece. It's a historical timeline set in the past. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But there's so many. But I think a group. A group is a bigger threat than one solo villain. I think he could go for. I think he could, use Superman versus the Elite as inspiration. But I think what you're going to see with DCU is that each project will take its time. It's not going to be like Marvel straight away where they just chuck 5 or 6 things at you. For example, Superman Legacy, the Batman 2 in 2025. I don't see any other DCU movies happening in 2025, unless I'm wrong. It's possible, of course. Waz 007, Metallo for bad for Superman. Yeah, Metallo would be great as well. Great character. Of course, with the kryptonite heart, he's got a big threat to Superman. I don't want to see a situation like I saw with Steppenwolf, where Superman is easily taking him out. Waz 007, Daniel Craig as Metallo. I mean, it could work. I mean, it wouldn't be who I'd choose, but hey, each to their own. I think the DCU will be very, very comic accurate within its casting and its setup. This is going to be very exciting if you're a comic book, if you're a hardcore stan as well. Because really, the DCEU didn't make the effort with the fans. I mean, look at what they did to Cheetah. Come on. Well, speaking about it on today's DC Universe Daily, they did Cheetah dirty. What they did with Cheetah in Wonder Woman 84 was disgusting. That was horrible, horrible. And Cheetah's such a good character in the comics. And Maxwell Lord, don't get me started again. I went through all that this morning. God. Pedro Pascal was great, but yeah, that ain't Maxwell Lord. That was Donald Trump. Waz 007, Wolfgang Nogowitz is a great choice for Superman. I hear a lot of people saying that. He looks good, but I think there's been no decision made. The casting process hasn't started yet, so there's no choice yet. I just think that he's a bandwagon. Everyone's jumping on that bandwagon right now, aren't they? But it may not necessarily be him. MSGT, what studio owns Bond? He was owned by MGM. MGM was bought by Amazon Studios, so now Amazon own James Bond. But it's not as simple as that, because basically Eon Productions also own James Bond. So it's a bit of a partnership with Bond. Waz 007, who cast for Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart? Great point. Great point. I'd like a couple of unknowns, to be honest with you. Freshen it up a bit. But I've always thought Robert Downey Jr. as an older Hal Jordan, and then a young guy playing Jon Stewart. How about John Boyega as Jon Stewart and Robert Downey Jr. as an older Hal Jordan? Now that is my bag. Now that's what you call a fucking fan cast. That's super. I want a James Bond Jr. movie. That cartoon was great. James Bond Jr. is something that I suggested during the Craig era, that they should have a series with James Bond Jr. that correlates with the older version and create a lovely origin, a prequel for Bond. But they don't do it. They're set in their ways. Waz 007, how old do you think Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart? I don't know. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is probably in his mid-50s now. So I think that would be fair to have an older Hal Jordan. And Jon Stewart, who is in his early 20s. Waz 007, yeah, enjoyed Junior James Bond cartoon. Never saw it. Sounds good, sounds good. You are watching Movies TV Mad with me, Mick, your host with the most. And we're having a bit of a live chat tonight about DC, James Bond. I've spoken about The Last of Us as well. The latest episode was absolutely fantastic. And if you haven't heard, episode 5 will be launched earlier this Friday to avoid the Super Bowl on Sunday. Tom Holland, why is 007 Tom Holland as James Bond Jr.? No, he ain't as young as he looks, you know. That guy's got to be almost 30. Let's give someone new a chance, right? Let's give some new young talent a chance. Why is 007 Tom Holland is 26? Yeah, nah. That ain't a James Bond Jr. to me. That ain't a James Bond Jr. A James Bond Jr. is about 18 to 20. Now that would be awesome. I had an idea. When I watched Casino Royale, I had an idea for a James Bond Jr., a string of movies or series. Bat Super, it was great. It was James Bond's nephew, and he had some really cool villains. Oh, wow, it was the nephew. But I wouldn't go down a nephew. But would you like to know what I would do with my James Bond Jr. movie or series? Right. We meet James Bond as a young boy, and we see his parents. Now, in Ian Fleming's original book, the parents die in a rock climbing accident. Well, in my story, the parents are murdered. James Bond is put into care, but then the killers come after Bond, and he goes on the run as an 18, 20-year-old boy. So he's on the run, and he's a bit like Jason Bourne, a young man on the run. He's looking over his shoulder, and he has these string of adventures. And then when we get to the modern day of James Bond, that backstory is part of the adult James Bond's life as well. And that's what I would have done with it. Why is 007 James Bond Jr. nephew James Bond in cartoon? So I wouldn't go down the nephew. Bat Super, I like that a lot. Thank you. Yeah, I was sitting there with my friends watching Casino Royale in a cinema, and we all were on these premiere seats, and it was brilliant. And the opening, I just thought, this is a great opportunity to start Bond in a way where you have a connection. You have a James Bond Jr. when he's young, and he's on the run, and he's, there's this conspiracy against him, the same conspiracy that killed his parents, and it's all connected in the James Bond Jr. stories and when he gets older. And I think that will be very exciting. But the producers are still the people who've been doing it for years. And they tried to have an interconnected kind of Bond with Casino Royale and all those films, but they didn't execute it the right way. So that's what I would do. So you can either have a Bond kind of streaming, a James Bond Jr. streaming show that's all connected with the movies, or you have James Bond Jr. movies and James Bond kind of senior kind of movies as well. But it's all connected, and that's what I would do. But who's going to listen to me, right? No one listens to me. I'm just a bald madman on social media, I'm afraid. Maybe I should change my name so it sounds like I've got Hollywood DNA. Then maybe they start listening to me. That was naughty, wasn't it? Mick Meanesberg. How about that? Mick Meanesberg. Mick Meanesman. Mick Spielberg. How about that? Mick Spielberg. Mick Cameron. How about Mick Cameron? Hi, I'm Mick Cameron. Yeah, I've just come out of film school. I decided to go to film school when I was like 49 years old, and now I just came out, and I'm trying my luck here in Hollywood. Would you like to give me a DNA test? Wow, yeah, your DNA matches. Yeah, you're going to be a director in Hollywood now. Why is 007 fan cast James Bond, Henry Cavill's Bond, Tom Holland, or unknown actor James Bond Jr. nephew? Bat Super laughing. Why is 007 laughing? Who else could I be? Mick Snyder. How about that? That's good. Mick Snyder. Hi, I'm Mick Snyder. No relation to him, don't worry. And I'm here to direct. Check my blood, man. Check my blood. I'm fine. And look at me. I'm Greek Cypriot, so it's representation and inclusion as well. Isn't that great? You're being inclusive. Creation K, Nick, the one and only. Positive news from DC. Up, up, we hope. Creation K, Mick. Hello. Creation K, sorry, typo. It's all right, I typo all the time. Waz 007, ha 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 ha. Mick Snyder. And I even call myself he, him. So I'm cool, man. I'm cool, man. I'm a liberal, I tell them. I tell them that I'm a liberal, that I believe in everyone, that, you know, I hate Trump, and I'll be in there, mate. And what I'll do is I'll have an affair or I'll date someone famous, but not J-Lo. Not J-Lo. Did you see those pictures of Ben Affleck at the Grammys? The poor bastard looked like he wanted to top himself, didn't he? Oh, my God. I said he shouldn't have got back with her. Oh, my God. Why did he get back with her for? Oh, what I do is, I know how to make it in Hollywood. I'm going to turn up at a press conference and announce that I'm Bella Ramsey's illegitimate father. How about that? Because The Last of Us is a trend right now. You ain't my dad? Prove it. My mum doesn't know you. Well, she was pissed. She was pissed while we did it, right? I'm your daddy, right? Bella, deal with it. I just want to prove to be a good dad, Bella. Make me famous! Make me famous. I mean, look, this is what they do in Hollywood. These fuckers will do anything to make it and say anything. Poor Whoopi Goldberg, once she confessed that she didn't have their DNA, she never worked again. Where's 007? Benedict Cumberbatch as Bond villain. Actually, I like Benny. I think Benny would be a great villain. I think I wanted Benny to be Doctor Who or the Master, and while Stephen Moffat was involved, and that's a shame. I think Benny's wasting his time with Marvel. I really do. I mean, it's an easy paycheck, but it's not very challenging. I mean, Benny is such a great actor, and it's just a shame. I think he's wasting his... He's such a good actor. What's he doing with Marvel? Boring. He would have made a great Doctor. Benedict Cumberbatch should have been the Doctor or the Master. Fucking hell, the Doctor. Creation K, make new stories. Stop the IPs. Stop the copycats. Stop the nonsense. Yeah, have you heard, Creation K? They're bringing out... they're doing another I Know What You Did Last Summer. But I think this time, basically, the person goes, yeah, I was sunbathing, and then the film finishes. Why is 007 Scott Adkins as Bond or villain Bond? Creation K, you can't be serious. I am. They're doing another. It was announced by Deadline. They are doing another I Know What You Did Last Summer since the last summer. These people, my friend, Creation K, Danny Cannon made one of my favourite movies, Goal. Now, Danny Cannon, is this the same Danny Cannon who co-created Gotham? Because he's a British guy, isn't he, Danny Cannon, I think. He was Bruno Heller, and Danny Cannon worked on Gotham. Now, Bruno Heller also created that cop show with Red John. I forgot what it's called. Creation K, Danny Cannon did I Know What You Did Last Summer. Bat Super. The two first movies are the only good ones, with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. I never watched either. Creation K, not sure about Gotham. Bat Super. The Mentalist. What a great show. I never did find out who Red John was. I might actually start rewatching it. Why is 007? Gotham TV I did not like. I thought they did the villains really, really well. You've got to have the DNA to make it an entertainment. Got to have the DNA. People get offended when I say it, but it's true. Got to have that special DNA. Fucking Beyonce has won more Grammys than anyone else. It's like they're trying to say there's no one else who can sing. Although I would, Beyonce, I would. That Naughty Boy video she did years ago. Oh my God. Oh my God. Creation K. Mick, has Gal Gadot been cut out of Shazam? Do we know? No, I don't think she has, because they've kind of teased her in the promotional material. Waz 007. Waz 007, you're right, Mick, DNA. Yeah, they've all got the DNA. Doesn't matter what colour they are. Whether they're trans or, you know, biological, they've all got the special DNA. And that's their idea of inclusion. Oh, yeah, they'll have, like, the different minorities as long as they've got the DNA. You know, that's how fucked up these people are. Creation Cat, okay, thank you for the update. Yeah, Gal is in Shazam Fury of the Gods, I'm sure of it. The rumour is that she's been cut at the end of the Flash movie, which doesn't bode well for her future as Wonder Woman. There's definitely something dodgy going on with Gal and her future as Wonder Woman. There's no question about that. Basically, Hollywood isn't just a town. It's another fucking planet. It's another planet. Creation K. That was my confusion. So she's more likely to be cut out of the Flash than Shazam. I think, like Keaton and Sasha Calle, I think she'll be. Maybe you'll see her early on in the movie, but I think she'll be cut out at the ending. But I think her days are numbered. That's what I think. I think he's going to face out most of the original cast of the DCEU. He hasn't even mentioned his good friend Margot Robbie, which is very interesting. Hasn't said a word about her. Creation Case, shame, really. She was the best fitted actor to their character, I believe. She was amazing. She was amazing, especially in the first movie. Waz 007, Gal is wooden. Well, you're entitled to your opinion, Waz. I don't agree. And she's a very good Wonder Woman. But I think it's not just about the performance, Waz. It's about how you write them. Maybe she's written to be wooden. I mean, let's be honest. Gal isn't the greatest of actors, but she fits the role. I mean, we're not talking about Vivian Leigh. We're not talking about the great actors here. There's no question about that. Creation K, can't stand that Barbie actress. Can't stand her. Bunch of hypocrites. Although we all fall short, we all are hypocrites at some point. This, however, is different. This is Hollywood. Oh, you mean Margot Robbie, who's going to be in Barbie? Yeah, I won't be watching that. Waz Douglas, a rumor that the bill might be back. Wow. The bill should never have been cancelled in the first place, if that's what you're talking about. But super. Gal is good with the right director. I think she was brilliant in the first film. I think she was great in BVS. I think she was great in the Snyder Cut. She's a great Wonder Woman. All I'm saying is she probably isn't the greatest actors in the world, but I do like her as Wonder Woman. Waz 007, yes, the Bill TV show. Yeah, I loved it, and I would love it to come back. I'll check on Twitter if anything's developing with that. I do follow a Bill account on Twitter. And on Twitter, I do retweet and share lots of forms of entertainment, not just DC. Creation K, yes, I meant Margot lol. Yeah, I used to love her. I don't anymore. Once I knew she hated men, yeah. And she does, because what she did in Birds of Prey. Creation K, Mick, did you ever hear that Darren Aronofsky would make a Batman film This was before Reeves came on board. Yeah, this was years before Reeves. Yeah. Look, I have a lot of time for Darren Aronofsky because he did one of my favorite films of all time, The Fountain, starring Hugh Jackman. So I would have loved that. Was 007, the bill was great, but downhill. Bat Super, I want a really villainous Harley Quinn. Also, she needs the jester suit. Yeah, they kind of had the jester suit in the first Suicide Squad, but she never put it on. Creation K, absolutely great film, and also love Noah too. Watched it yesterday. Noah's good, but The Fountain is just, yeah, I love that film. Amazing film. Darren is just a brilliant guy, and you know, if he ever did a DC movie, wow, that would be a hot take. I think if he ever did one of the big three, that would be a bigger take than anything that Snyder ever did. But he's amazing. He really is. He's an auteur. I've actually never seen Noah. I actually realise now I've never seen Noah. I was saying, yeah, but I've never seen Noah before. I thought the trailer looked good. You're talking about the Russell Crowe one and Emma Watson. Creation Gate. Also, I have a quick question. Would be good to hear all your answers. Which out of these two came first in history? Hugh Jackman or Wolverine? I don't understand the question. Obviously, Wolverine. You mean who came into the world, who was born? Weird question, Creation K. I don't know. So Hugh Jackman's probably approaching 60, right? I think they've probably been around for around the same time. Creation K, I was shocked by the answer. Well, tell us the answer because it's an odd question. Probably Hugh Jackman came before Wolverine. Creation K, was Wolverine created first or Wolverine first issued in comics? Was Wolverine created first? Creation K, Hugh Jackman, you got it. I thought so. Yeah, it's not that surprising. I mean, he's probably either 60 or approaching 60 now. He's no spring chicken. You know what? I'm 50 and I can't imagine being 60. I mean, oh my God. Creation K, sorry I worded this terribly. No, I mean, I just thought the question was a bit odd, but yeah, it's an interesting little puzzler, isn't it? Why is 007? Hugh look great for age. Well, of course he does. They all got the surgery on their faces and bodies. They all go to the gym. Creation K, stay healthy, Mick. Healthy is wealth. Yeah, trying. Creation K, I asked the question because it came up in a quiz on Friday. Aha, all right. I mean, it's an interesting question. It's a strange, interesting question. But yeah, I knew that Hugh isn't a spring chicken anymore. I'll be interested to see this Deadpool Wolverine movie. And very soon, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is coming out this month. That's going to be interesting how it's going to do. Looking forward to that film, actually. I'm not an MCU stan, but I'm looking forward to that one. I love good movies, and that one interests me. That looks good. It's not going to be the same kind of Phase 4 bullshit. Why is 007 did like Red Bull TV show? I never got into it, but it was definitely a cult classic, wasn't it? Creation K, are you going to watch it? Should be an interesting watch. Oh, I'm going to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. This is going to be a great Scott Lang and Kang the Conqueror movie. That's what it's going to be. And I think it's great. Why is 007? I watch Ant-Man 3. Very excited for it. I think Kang is going to be one of the best supervillains in any comic book franchise because I think he's going to be better than Thanos. I really think this is going to be complex, multiple versions. You're going to have to really keep your eye on the prize. I think it's going to be excellent. And I think Feig is actually hitting the nail on the head with this one. I think he's really going to capture people's imaginations. I can't wait. Can't wait. Kang the Conqueror. He who, I mean, when we saw him in Loki, that's what I knew. I thought, I mean, Loki wasn't the greatest thing ever. It was okay. But when he turns up on Loki, I was mesmerized and I thought, wow, this is going to be good. Creation K, nice. I also saw Plane today. Recommend for a great action film with good lessons. Gerard Butler, have to say it was better than Black Adam. Well, that's not saying much, although I did enjoy Black Adam for what it was. But, you know, Gerard Butler is great quality. He's become this kind of evergreen action hero now, hasn't he? Waz 007, rumour, Paul Rudd will die in Ant-Man 3. Yes, it's something I've heard. I hope not. But it will be a very somber ending for a movie. So who knows? But, you know, and then it really would be the MCU, wouldn't it? Because then basically you'd only have the Wasp and no Ant-Man. So, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Bat Super, have you seen Donnie Darko? What a film! What a film, yeah. One of the greats. They don't make them like that anymore, do they? Great movie. Donnie Darko is also a cult classic. Wow, what a film that is. So it's funny, you know, when I'm on here talking about films or on Twitter and I see all these films mentioned, I think, I'm going to watch this, and I'm thinking, well, I can't watch them all. Creation K, I love women, but the weaponization of women I hate. Oh, I love women. Especially on Instagram. No, I have, obviously, look, I respect women. I love women. It's not about hating women. But the extreme left, you're right, have weaponized women. They have weaponized the LGBTQ community and using them for their own ends. And it's very sad to divide the genders and to divide, you know, minorities against others. It's not good, is it? But this is extremist for you. Bat Super, Paul Rudd, calm. Creation K, I mean love in a pure way. Easy, Mick. Yeah, I knew what you meant. I was being funny. Bat Super, Paul Rudd can't die. He beat up Michael Myers. Waz 007, rumour that Hugh and Toby would in new Avenger film. We will see, because we are heading to the multiverse in a way in the MCU. They've already done the multiverse, so it is possible. I think in Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, or the one they do afterwards, look, basically everyone's coming back in Secret Wars. Everyone. That's the whole idea. Basically, if Nick Fury's coming back, and we know how expensive Sam Jackson is, they're all coming back. Waz 007, Paul at good age. Paul Rudd, he's not old. Late 50s, I think. Right, guys, we're going to wrap this chat up in a minute. Creation K, Waz 007, the power of genes. What, genes as in DNA? Creation K, cough, doctors. Waz 007, Paul, age, I think 52. Oh, that's not too old. Of course, Paul Rudd's been in, I think he was in Friends, wasn't he? Wasn't he the one who played Phoebe's boyfriend in Friends? So he's been around for quite a while, Paul Rudd. So we're going to wrap this up in a minute. We'll wait for the clock to strike 2 hours because I have OCD. So I like accuracy. But yeah, it's been another great live chat. We're slow at the beginning. Then a few of you came in and livened things up and made me very, very happy. So it's been great. I will be back tomorrow for the DC Universe Daily. Then I'll be back tomorrow evening for another live chat. This is the place to be to keep in touch with all the breaking DC live action news and anything that's going on in entertainment that I find interesting. We'll talk about that as well. Creation K, how long left, Nick? Anyway, grateful to be here as always. Great to have you here, Creation K. Creation K, Mick. Yes, it's Mick, not Nick. Sometimes people call me Mike. Michael's my actual name, but for some reason I went from Mike to Mick. But I like Mick. It's cool. It's friendly. Mick's the guy down the pub. It's cool. I like it. This has been Movies TV Mad. I am Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wife, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. It's been a great live chat, everyone. Make me really happy. See you tomorrow.